Motortrend puts out an article directly comparing the 2026 Tesla Model Y to the 2025 Ford Mustang Mach-E. In this article, written by Scott Evans, who in my opinion has a strong anti-Tesla bias after reading his article, mainly argues aesthetics of both vehicles. Comparing the looks of the rear, comparing the interior, comparing the ride quality. In my opinion, these are all irrelevant argument points, as all of these are highly subjective and are subject to each individual taste. Now, getting down to the tech differences here, where he starts to argue which is better, the Tesla full self-driving supervised or the Ford's BlueCruise. And this is where it all goes a little bit haywire. In this article, it states that our verdict comes down to the results. BlueCruise does everything it promises and does those things very well. FSD from Tesla Supervised does more things, but does them inconsistently at best, and sometimes downright poorly. Now, this is a blatant inaccuracy at best, and at worst, an intentional hit on the credibility of FSD Supervised. Now, let's see. They say that their verdict comes down to the results. BlueCruise does everything it promises and does those things very well. Well, what does it do very well? Okay. Now, in this article, hands-off review for BlueCruise 1.5 is an even better hands-free driving system written by Eric Johnson, dated on July 1st. I scroll down to where it mentions the update. BlueCruise version 1.5 is rolling out and brings with it one huge addition to its feature set. Get this, automated lane changes. Anyone who owns a Tesla or knows anyone who owns a Tesla and regularly uses full self-driving supervised will outright, in my opinion, laugh at this so-called advancement in the BlueCruise technology, as this is akin to the Stone Ages when it comes to Tesla full self-driving. The Tesla full self-driving supervised software currently can literally drive your vehicle on any road, take you from one location to the next at the tap of a button, and it is already proven that Tesla full self-driving supervised is 10 times safer than human drivers driving manually. Now, this gets me thinking, going back to the main article here where it says full self-driving supervised from Tesla does more things. Obviously, it does more things, right? Because the Ford BlueCruise can only operate on pre-mapped roadways, and it cannot operate outside of those pre-mapped roadways. Whereas Tesla full self-driving is literally an AI-driven full self-driving software suite which can drive the vehicle on any road anywhere in the world and under any condition without any additional resources required, right? So here it says it does more things. Obviously it does. And in my opinion, it's not even in the same universe. The BlueCruise and the full self-driving supervised from Tesla are not even in the same universe. And in my opinion, it's like comparing apples to oranges. They cannot be compared, as the Ford BlueCruise is so inferior to the Tesla full self-driving suite, which is AI driven, that in my opinion, it's like comparing apples to oranges. But anyway, let's entertain what this article says. Does more things, but does them inconsistently at best, which is frankly laughable, just based on my own personal experience, right? As I do own a 2024 Model Y Tesla, and with the latest version of full self-driving supervised, and also having road tripped from NJ to California and back, a total of over 6,000 miles. Most of that, maybe 99% of that road trip was on full self-driving supervised in my Tesla, and it was utterly game-changing and enjoyable, as I was able to fully experience the beauty, the scenery, and the sights, sounds, smells, and everything else of the Midwest and that the road trip has to offer. No more worrying about manually driving. The fatigue factor was cut into fractions. Tesla full self-driving is a game changer, and it is going to, it is not going to, it is already revolutionizing the way transportation works. You don't have to take my word for it. Ask anyone who owns a Tesla and regularly uses full self-driving supervised. Ask them how it is. As a matter of fact, get in their car, maybe go for a ride. Ask them to show you just what Tesla full self-driving supervised is capable of, and how it is really, how it feels to you. I feel like there is a huge disconnect in the education of, between the people who own Teslas and are on the inside knowing how things are, and the people who don't own Teslas and don't exactly know what's going on and are believing these type of overly hyped and obviously agenda-based news articles and news stories that are clearly, in my opinion, serving an agenda that is anti-Tesla, right? And in my opinion, if I was a company competing against Tesla, I would be pretty scared myself, and I would be doing everything in my power to downplay the advancements and the greatness that Tesla is making here, right? So anyway, back to the article. Okay, so I then clicked on the link here, as it is clickable, to see what exactly are they comparing. What exactly is inconsistently at best, right? So we go to the article here. Right off the bat, they're comparing Tesla Autopilot to Ford's BlueCruise, but claiming that they're comparing in the main article here the Tesla full self-driving supervised. These two, again, the people who don't know won't know the difference between the Tesla Autopilot system and the Tesla full self-driving supervised system. They will not know the difference, and unfortunately, this is how misinformation spreads like wildfire amongst the masses who don't know and who are uneducated. This is why it's so important to get the information correct here. The Tesla Autopilot system is basically a glamorized adaptive cruise control system. It is not AI driven, and it is not full self-driving supervised from Tesla. It is the Tesla Autopilot, which is a glamorized or a highly advanced cruise control system. It will keep you in your lane, and basically it's a very dumbed down version of full self-driving, but it is not full self-driving. Full self-driving supervised from Tesla is a completely different system, right? So now let's scroll down here, and we're passing all of the points that they're trying to make here. Prone to errors, frustrating integrations, the auto steer. They are not comparing the Tesla full self-driving system here. They are comparing the Tesla Autopilot system, which are two different systems. And in the main article, again, they're claiming it to be full self-driving supervised. Again, the full self-driving supervised system is an AI-driven, highly intelligent system that literally drives the vehicle, the Tesla, on any road to a destination of your choosing. Meaning you type in the address in the Tesla GPS, you hit go, and the car drives itself over there. Granted, it is currently supervised, meaning that, yes, it is not perfect yet. Obviously, it's still supervised. But it is basically almost there, and it will still drive the vehicle as if a human being was driving it. That's the main point, right? The main point is separating the AI-driven full self-driving system from Tesla from all of these, so-called advanced driver assist systems, right? Anyway, going back to the article here, this article is so biased that, in my opinion, it's so biased that it even gives you a hypothetical scenario, right? What this article is trying to say is that the wheel nag is so frustrating that you will need to keep your hand on the wheel at all times, which is false, is blatantly false. In the full self-driving, there is an interior camera right above the rear view mirror, which monitors your eyes. And if your eyes are on the road or looking ahead, then there will be no wheel nag. Additionally, if your eyes are not looking ahead, yes, there will be a wheel nag, but it will not be as annoying as this rider claims to be. Additionally, this rider is not writing about full self-driving supervised. This rider is writing about the auto steer function here, which is part of the Tesla Autopilot and not the Tesla full self-driving. So already the article is misinforming the public on what full self-driving actually is. They're not actually comparing full self-driving. So this article even throws in this hypothetical. Let's read this hypothetical scenario that this article claims might hypothetically happen. This article states, picture this. You're driving with auto steer, guiding it through a curve as it does most of the work. Okay, you're not guiding anything through the curve. First of all, let's stop right here. Even when it's on auto steer, you're not guiding it. The auto steer is steering the car for you, right? There's no need to guide it. You know how much steering force to apply within auto steer's liking. Mindful to not go too far. You're not applying any force whatsoever. If you personally wish to keep your hand close to the wheel in case you may need to take over, that's your preference. But again, you're not applying any force whatsoever. You're not guiding anything whatsoever. The vehicle, in this case, auto steer is steering the vehicle. There is no input required from you whatsoever. The car hits a bump, and that impact causes your hands to move slightly. That's too much for auto steer, and it deactivates. So what this article is claiming hypothetically is that you have your arm, your hand on the steering wheel. Okay, the steering wheel is now turned. The auto steer is steering the car on a curve, right? For some reason, you have your hand still on the wheel, and according to this article, guiding the auto steer, which has full control of your steering. There's no need to guide anything through this curve while on auto steer. And then it implies that you are also putting some amount of force on the wheel, but not so much to deactivate it, to deactivate the auto steer. Because you can't deactivate the auto steer by putting enough force on the wheel to break it free from the auto steer, right? But that does require a significant nag of the wheel. And by significant, I mean a good amount of force. Simply by you resting your hand on the wheel is not enough force to even come close to disengage the auto steer or even the full self-driving, right? On any automated system, it's not enough force on a Tesla, right? How do I know? I own one. I'm telling you. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to take my word for it. Ask anyone who owns a Tesla, or heck, take out a Tesla for a test drive and experience it for yourself and make up your own mind, right? I'm just trying to clear the information here, right? I mean, for me, it's all about what you prefer in a vehicle. And it really ends at that point. But as long as you have the right information to make that decision, an educated decision on your own is what really matters. In my opinion, I recommend that if you have not test driven a Tesla yet, go out and test drive a Tesla, right? Anyway, so now you hit a bump and your hand is on the wheel. You have to hit not a bump. Your car will probably need to dip into a crater and back out. And then you panic and hold the wheel. I'm taking this hypothetical to a realistic hypothetical. Simply hitting a bump on the road will not cause your resting hand to create enough force to disengage the auto steer. It will not, unless you panic and disengage it yourself with significant force, might I add. For the hypothetical scenario in this article to actually occur, your car would have to literally dive into a crater of a pothole, so much so that you'd be worried that your tires might have blown out from the impact. That may hypothetically, and still unlikely by the way, that would hypothetically cause you to panic and disengage the auto steer. But this takes it a step further. This article takes it a step further. Since the steering becomes much lighter with auto steer off, the force you were applying a moment ago is now excessive and you must snatch the wheel back to avoid veering off your intended path. I mean, if this if this hypothetical happens to you, I'm sorry. You may need to retake a driving test or a driving lesson or your road test, because if if this happens, if this hypothetical applies to you, then in my opinion, you should not be driving on the road. You should not be driving on the road. This is what's called overreacting, and it happens to everybody, right? Auto steer or not, how many drivers have overcorrected a hydroplane, or overcorrected or overreacted to an obstacle on the road or whatever, and they overcorrect, they understeer, they oversteer, the car spins out, and boom, you have some not so good things happening on the roadway, right? So this doesn't apply to strictly whatever auto steer or any kind of driving assistance technologies are out there. This applies to all drivers, right? All drivers are prone to overreacting and panicking on the road. So, in my opinion, this article, again, not only does it not compare full self-driving to the Ford BlueCruise, in my opinion, it is misleading at best, right? Because this article claims full self-driving supervised does more things. Obviously, it does. Ask anyone, right? Or look at the data, or look at the amount of videos online on successful full self-driving supervised feats that Tesla has done, right? But it compares instead the Tesla Autopilot and claims that it's full self-driving supervised. And this, in my opinion, is just outrageous. And I'm not really surprised, as you know, Tesla is the company that is going to be, in my opinion, the disruptor of, I think, the whole world. I think the way the world works currently right now will be disrupted by Tesla's technologies, and it is already doing the disrupting, which is why all of these companies are caught in a hard spot, right? In a way, I do empathize and I do understand with what these companies are going through. Their technology is outdated, and compared to Tesla, it is of the Stone Ages. So they're going to try to do everything they need to do to survive. Unfortunately, the consequence of that is a lot of misinformation and a lot of, in my opinion, targeted anti-Tesla rhetoric, which in my opinion, again, halts real progress. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it right there. If you like what you saw, please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree with this article's assessment of the Tesla full self-driving versus the Ford's BlueCruise? Let me know in the comments below, and until then, I'll see you next time.